As you walked here this evening, you may have noticed that there seems to be something a little bit different about tonight. You may have passed some groups of kids dressed as ghosts, princesses, firemen, Labubus, Taylor Swift, or those characters from K-pop Demon Hunters. They all seem to be hyped up on candy and be carrying buckets of even more candy. Or you may have passed teenagers. They may have been dressed as Glinda, Wednesday, or the 6'7" trend. You probably also passed some parents who were exhausted, schlepping said children in wagons, strollers, even their arms. Yes, if you haven't looked at the calendar, today is Halloween, or as some of my rabbi friends say, Challah-ween. It's the day the dentists dread. While Halloween did originate as a Celtic festival celebrating the end of the summer harvest, it was later adopted by the Catholic Church. But the reality is, in today's celebration, it is quite far removed from its initial religious or agricultural beginnings. Now, it is a day to dress up, to scare people, and to collect as much candy as your pillowcase will allow. And even though there are some actual anti-Semitic acts associated with Halloween in the past, the current reality is most of our children, most of our Jewish children, are out trick-or-treating right now. As a rabbi, I'm often asked for my opinion on Halloween. Rabbi, is it okay for Jews to celebrate Halloween? Rabbi, should Jews be out trick-or-treating? Isn't it a pagan holiday? To which I get to give my favorite Jewish answer: yes and yes. Yes, it did originate as a pagan holiday. And yes, it is okay for our Jewish children to go trick-or-treating. Why? Because the majority of our children consider themselves both fully American and fully Jewish. And I would argue that our ability to see ourselves as part of the majority community is actually one of our Jewish superpowers. As Jews, we have a long history of moving or being moved from country to country to country. As one country becomes inhospitable to Jews, we are either forced out or we leave of our own accord to find a land more willing to welcome us. There we settle, and we quickly become part of the culture. Even when we are not fully accepted by the majority culture, we allow aspects of it to impact and change our customs. What is Yiddish? Yiddish is a Germanic language, a Germanic-based language written in Hebrew characters with influences of Slavic languages. What is Ladino? It's a Jewish Spanish language with hints of Greek, Arabic, and Turkish. Why do Jews eat both hummus and latkes? Because we have ancestors from the Mediterranean who had access to chickpeas, and we have ancestors from Eastern Europe where potatoes were more easily accessible. And do you really think our ancestors were marching through the desert in long black coats and streimels? Or did they pick that up in 18th century Poland? From our language to our dress to our culinary choices, Jews and Judaism have been influenced by each of the places that we have settled and lived. But it is not only us that has allowed outside influences to enter in. The world around us is also influenced by having Jews among them. Bagels are a delicacy known worldwide. Words like chutzpah and schmooze have entered the general American lexicon. And that isn't even looking at the religious foundational role that Judaism played for both Christianity and Islam. In every land that we've lived, we've added positive value to our community. As a community that values education, hard work, and communal support, Jews have become skilled at adapting to new environments and finding ways not only to thrive, but not only to survive, but thrive. The reality is, whenever we are living in a specific place for any length of time, that place leaves an imprint on us, but we leave an imprint on them as well. And in places where we are given the opportunity to participate in the general society, we've not only taken that opportunity, we have embraced it with open arms. One way we embrace the chance to participate in the general community around us is by exercising our right to vote, and not just our right, but our privilege and our responsibility. Historically, Jews vote in consistently higher percentages than the general American population. According to a Brandeis University study, the average percentage that votes in a presidential election year is 50 to 65% of the electorate. But the Jewish rate of voting routinely hits close to 80% of eligible voters. And by the way, this is your reminder, if you have not yet voted, go vote. You can vote today, tomorrow, Sunday, or on Election Day, Tuesday. And we don't only voice our opinions through the polls. Jews are also overrepresented in elected positions from the local level on up. According to the 2020 census data, Jews make up only approximately 1.9% of the US population. And yet, right now we have 12% of the governors who are Jewish, 11% of the Supreme Court, 10% of the Senate, and 6% of the House of Representatives. That means 6 states have Jewish governors, 3 of whom are named Josh. 10 different states have an elected Jewish senator. And from the years 2010 to 2020, 3 justices, a full 1/3 of our Supreme Court, was Jewish. And as Jews, we do more than just vote and run for office. We also deeply engage in our community, and we work to make it better. While Jews can be found in every part of local, city, state, and national leadership, Jews are also among the leaders of most of the social movements our country has experienced. The women's suffragette movement was led by leaders such as Rose Schneiderman, Maud Nathan, and our own Stephen Wise. In the fight for civil rights, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Rabbi Joachim Prince, Julius Rosenwald, and Rabbi Richard Hirsch, father of our Rabbi Hirsch. And in the fight for LGBT rights, we hear names like Harvey Milk and Larry Kramer. So why does our presence at the polls, in elected office, and in communal leadership roles in our society consistently outpace our population? What is it about our community that propels us to actively engage and work towards a better society? And here lies our superpower. After being moved from country to country and having to learn to adapt to a new communal structure wherever we went, Judaism has developed an agility that has helped our people adapt to whichever place we land. This week, God gives Abraham the famous command, Lech lecha, go, from a place that he knew to a place that was new, to leave the comforts of routine in order to venture into the unknown, to leave his idolatrous community to be a leader of a new monotheistic community. Since the days of Abraham's sojourn to the Promised Land, we Jews have moved time and time again. But each time we move, we bring a piece of the place we have left, and we gather a piece of each place we go. But in each place we settle, we also make it home. There's a beautiful Talmudic teaching in Baba Batra that talks about settling in the diaspora. Rabbi Yehoshua warns us that we shouldn't mourn too much, but we also shouldn't forget that we are in exile. Therefore, when you build a home, you should leave one square unplastered. When you cook a feast, you should leave one dish undone. And when you dress yourself for a party, you should leave one adornment off. But more importantly, we're supposed to build our homes, cook our feasts, and celebrate. In other words, set down roots, live, engage in the society in which you are living. But don't forget from where you came and where you hope to return. but don't waste time simply waiting for that return. So enjoy your Halloween celebrations, go vote, get involved in organizations that work to better our community, knowing that Judaism is strengthened, not threatened, by our willingness to balance both our participation in the secular society and our distinctiveness as a Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.